I am Sam Lazarus, Creative Director for Rokoko, and we're excited to do this VTubing webinar. So the run of show, and I'm just going to hide myself again here because I like being the teddy bear. But the run of show basically is we have a fantastic guest speaker, PixelFire, who's this amazing VTuber who's using Rokoko products to make a super smooth, amazing VTubing stream. And so we're gonna chat with PixelFire for about half an hour. The second half hour will be taking live questions. And the other thing to mention is that we are giving away some Elgato products as well as some Rokoko face capture, a year of Rokoko face capture, and then an Elgato Stream Deck XL and an Elgato Stream Deck. And the way to enter into the random drawing for that is you just need to go to the Discord. You need to introduce yourself on the VTubing channel on the Rokoko Discord, and we're going to draw randomly from there. And we're excited to give those out. And, you know, you need your Stream Deck if you're getting into the VTubing. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce PixelFire. And Pixel, can you come to the stage? There we go. Hey, man.
Hey, everyone. What's up? What's up? I just want to say, starting out, Sam, and to everyone at Rokoko, thank you so much for having me here on the webinar. Super excited.
It's awesome to have you. I'm here mostly, I mean, we do these in theory for our, community, but it's really just me asking you questions. I just have questions that I need answered, and that's how this is going to go. But
cool, no worries. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
But cool. Okay, so we're gonna kind of get started, and again, everyone, go to the Discord, introduce yourself on the VTubing channel to enter into the running for the Stream Deck. But let's just start with PixelFire. Can you just kind of introduce yourself and let us know where you're streaming and kind of who you are? Let's start there.
Yeah, my name is PixelFire, and I am the ultimate AI gamer. So I run a gaming channel on YouTube where I do gameplay videos and talk about gaming tech and pretty much anything gaming. So that's what I do, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So if you want to check out my channel, you can find it at youtube.com/PixelFire, just spelled just the way it sounds, PixelFire. And same over on Twitter, and Instagram is the same, except it's PixelFire, ITS, PixelFire.
Sweet. Yeah, and we'll have links to all those channels as well in the description below if you're watching this at a later date.
Cool.
So yeah, so tell us, so when did you first hear about VTubing? When did this journey start for you?
So my debut, my first stream was in April of 2019, and funny enough,
2019. I thought you were gonna say this April, but okay, so it's been
no. It's been a few
3 years
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Is that 3 years? Oh God.
And funny story that I had no idea about VTubing in general. Didn't even know VTubing was a thing. Just started the whole PixelFire thing because thought it would be a cool idea to stream as a virtual avatar, and just because you could do a lot of cool stuff with doing something as a game in a game engine.
Right.
So started off doing that, and then slowly, as the channel started growing, I slowly started to discover that other people did it. I'm like, hey, VTubing is an actual thing. There's a community of people that do it, and there's a small VTubing industry that's kind of growing. And so I kind of got introduced to it after I started, which was kind of weird.
I feel like that was, you were pretty, I mean, and I'm on the late, I think, end of this, but VTubing hit mainstream internet in the last year or something. I feel like that's my impression, at least. So you were pretty early to the game, a little bit.
Yeah, at least as far as 3D avatars go, because it's been really popular in the Japanese community. They started VTubing 2D avatars I think as early as 2016, so years and years ago. So they definitely kicked it off, and then non-Japanese and English-speaking VTubers that are doing more 3D stuff like this have become more popular, just like you said, over the past few years.
Yeah, I guess a lot of this is from the Western perspective, because again,
sure.
It's when we just put out a VTubing series, and there were people commenting who were like, this has been around a little bit longer than it's cute that you guys are you're catching up, but this has actually been a thing, for a while.
We're getting there.
Right. We're catching up. Okay, so I remember because I think I caught I started watching your stream before you just had kind of an upgrade in your your studio. You've upgraded your studio and kind of, you know, all of the, you know, basically everything about your stream, I think recently. What was the like intro to trying to figure out VTubing like? Like, was it, I mean, I think maybe your creator had a little experience with Unity, but maybe you can talk about like what the technical journey was kind of like, just in terms of your studio and like, just, you know, I don't know, getting started in it, in VTubing. I think is very daunting for people, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And is that, do you think that's true? Do you think it's actually easier than one might think?
It can be easy and it can be hard. It honestly depends on what route you decide to go. The streaming and making content as a VTuber, there's a really wide spectrum of what that can look like. You could do a really simple and free or cheap setup where you're just using a webcam and very basic tracking or no tracking at all. You could just put up a 2D image in Streamlabs or in OBS and VTube that way. Or you could go a little bit more expensive and start getting tracking involved, and then even more expensive than that and get full body motion capture suits and facial tracking. And even within that, there's a huge range of products from cheap to mid-range to
Totally
expensive. So yeah, there's a huge range of stuff you can do. And then if you do a lot of custom stuff, like what I'm doing here, you would want to use a game engine like Unity or Unreal. And that's what everything here that you see is running in is Unity. So I'm in Unity, the studio is in Unity. And yeah, my background is all in Unity.
Yeah. And so maybe could you gave us a little bit of a preview of what what you're capable of doing in your environment. Just even the camera switching is very impressive to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, yes. Excellent.
Hey, so there you are. This is the over the shoulder camera, and then the over the back, which I never really use. It's kind of an awkward thing. And then behind the table, kind of far away. And then like being in a game engine, I can switch all these monitors around. So
oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
And then, oh, here's my selfie camera. Hey guys.
God, it's so great. That's just such an awesome view. I like being there with you.
Oh, and just so everyone is aware, I'm making all these switches with the Stream Deck, which you guys can win. So if you're interested, everyone needs a Stream Deck, whether you're a VTuber or not. Stream Decks are super helpful.
Yes.
So.
They legitimately are. Yeah, you think they're going to be helpful, and then you get it up and running. You're like, oh my gosh, this is
how did I exist without a Stream Deck?
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about about yourself? Like, how did your whole can you just tell us, I guess, about the PixelFire character?
Yeah. So I probably need to start off with my name. So PixelFire just came about as, thought it was a really cool gamer tag name. So that's what it started off as, just a gamer tag, PixelFire.
It is a cool gamer tag name.
And just because of the word pixel is associated with gaming. And I thought fire added some like pizzazz to the word pixel. And then I pictured PixelFire as kind of like a blue pixelated fire. And everything else kind of stemmed from that. So it was kind of a branding thing where I had the icon and the logo designed. And then I was like, hey, okay, so what if there was an avatar, if there was a virtual character named PixelFire, what would he look like? And that's how this was born. That's how this came about. So yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I think kind of half of the battle for VTubers is just getting your character, working and up and online, and the relationship between the creator and the character. But then also, I mean, just, I think as a streamer, because not only are you're a VTuber, but that's also just at its core, it's just a streamer. And so a lot of just streaming is like I think it's difficult for people to even have that journey, where you need to come up with your branding and things like that. And I guess we're kind of rambling around to a lot of different places, but I guess because I want to get to the Q&A, maybe we could just jump to some like lessons learned and advice. So if PixelFire was starting again tomorrow, what's kind of some of the things that you might tell yourself, like starting things that you've learned, I guess, over the course of your VTubing career?
Well, one of those things you kind of just touched on it a little bit, and that is that VTubing as a content creator is is really hard. That's what I think. That's what I would tell myself at the beginning, and that's some advice I have for everyone here is that VTubing is hard. Content creation in and of itself is hard. You put in a lot of work into it, but I would say that creating content as a VTuber is twice as hard, because not only do you have to create content like on YouTube or whatever your platform is, but you also have to split your time and spend a lot of time working on your VTubing setup and your virtual avatar and maintaining that and updating all of that. So you're kind of split 50-50 in both directions. And it's extra hard. So that's what I would tell myself if I started over today is just, hey, just be aware that VTubing as a content creator is going to be really hard. It's rewarding and it's a lot of fun, but it's hard. And I think it's harder than I anticipated it being going into all this, but it's worth it.
And just to go easy on yourself. I feel like it's like, it's a process, getting all this up and running, and it's so much time and effort. Okay. So we had a question that came in already, which I'm kind of cheating over to the questions, but, and I can ask this of PixelFire, but there's been some it's interesting to see all the acquisitions and everything that's been happening. And I think a lot of people, when they're starting VTubing, especially at this level, beyond the webcam, and they're thinking about maybe starting in Unity or Unreal. Can you talk a little bit about why the creator at least likes Unity or over Unreal, and if you've ever been tempted to switch? And I don't know. There's also some interesting things that have been happening with Unity, I think, recently.
Oh yeah,
a lot of interesting things.
This is a topic that I could talk about forever. The whole Unity versus Unreal thing. It's a great topic, and it's a lot of fun to talk about. So if I go on too long, just
no, I won't. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started off in Unity, and I've always been about Unity. It's been really cool. But Unreal Engine for sure has in a lot of times tempted me to go over to it instead of Unity. Unreal has just been making a lot of innovative moves lately with their MetaHuman and just their push to make Unreal Engine better as a whole. And to be honest, all of that has come from their money from Fortnite. Fortnite blew up and got Epic Games a ton of money. And so they've really been able to pour money and resources and time and engineering power into Unreal Engine, which is awesome. So that's a big reason why it's been tempting to switch over.
It's very tempting. It's incredibly tempting.
For sure.
Everything they do is very, because I'm not a huge Unreal user either. And it's just like, you see these things that they put out and you're like, oh my God, this looks very interesting.
Or not just them, even the people that use Unity,
right?
Or use Unreal,
right?
Stuff that just your average people put out is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the things that keeps me on Unity is, well, I'll do two things. So one thing is that I kind of see, and I think a lot of people share the same sentiment, is that Unreal is geared more towards console games and Unity more towards mobile games. You can do both on both platforms. You can find plenty of games, console and mobile, for both game engines, but Unity leans more towards mobile games. And that is something that I plan on developing later on, is more towards the mobile game route. And so that's why I started out with Unity in the first place. But something that really the second thing, which really keeps me staying on Unity is, and you kind of touched on this, Sam, is all of the innovative moves that Unity has started making lately.
Totally.
And I think they've been making them in response to all the success that Unreal has made, which is great because we're starting to see this competition between Unreal and Unity, which is great for consumers like us because we get cooler toys to play with. We get a better Unreal, we get a better Unity out of it. So, and maybe you'll talk about this later, but a few months ago, Unity acquired a huge VFX company called Weta, and they acquired just a few days ago, or announced it a few days ago, they acquired a company called Ziva Dynamics, which is going to bring virtual characters to the next level as far as realism goes. With machine learning and automated facial animation and all that type of stuff. It's really cool. I actually, if I could do a quick plug real quick, I actually just made an overview video on the Ziva Dynamics acquisition. It happened a few days ago, and I made the video and put it out yesterday, I think it was. Nice. After the webinar, if you're interested in seeing an overview video where I dive into what this acquisition is going to entail for Unity and for virtual characters, then check that out afterwards.
I definitely will, because it's nice. I mean, that was the Weta thing, and now this, and hopefully more. It's nice to see that momentum of, like, again, the the temptingness, you know, the like
Yeah.
the digital temptation to switch platforms is like swinging a little bit back towards Unity, which I think is just great. And as you said,
Yeah.
it's good. It's good for, even if you're not interested in switching, it's good for your software to be pushed by
Yeah, for sure.
competition. Because if Unreal is the only one doing all these interesting things, then that's no good. They just can get lazy and, you know, and not focus on the community and stuff. And yeah. Can you talk a little bit about, so I know that have you integrated gamification stuff into your streams? Is that something that you have up and running?
So you mean like live chat triggering
Yeah,
events to
like
happen
live,
inside
right?
Unity?
Yeah, because you kind of mentioned that a little bit, and is that I
Yeah.
also wonder about Unity versus Unreal for that, because I imagine, I don't know, again, I don't think either one is better, but they're just different, I imagine.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the really cool things about doing VTubing is that you're essentially like, I'm a game. What you're seeing right now is a video game running right now. So, and that
Right.
can all change and things can happen live. So if you can somehow get your live chat on YouTube or Twitch to talk back and forth with the game that's running, you can make crazy things happen. And so most people stream, especially VTubers, stream on Twitch. And so a lot of people have developed assets where you can connect Twitch to Unity or Twitch to Unreal, where chat events can make things happen in Unity or Unreal. But no one has made an asset yet that connects YouTube to Unity. And that's my setup. I stream to YouTube and I'm using Unity. So I'm actually in the process of working with another developer, and we are both co-developing an asset that connects YouTube live chat to Unity. And it's still in the works. We tested it out once. I did a New Year's Eve live stream where I had all these fireworks set up, and you could type in like ~ firework in the chat, and it would set off fireworks in the room, and it was awesome. It worked. The problem was it stopped working like an hour like at 11:40 p.m. So 20 minutes before New Year's. So people were having fun with it, but we couldn't use it for the actual minute of New Year's Day, which is disappointing. So the stream is unlisted for now, but the asset is being worked on still, and we'll eventually make it public and sell it on some asset stores.
Well, that's awesome that it was working at some point, though. I mean, that's still,
it was cool.
Really fun.
It was cool. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Is there a reason that you're on YouTube and instead of Twitch? And is that something that you like made consciously? Was that like, or was that just, it just ended up being that way? Or
yeah, that's another conversation where it's like, it's that Unity versus Unreal thing, YouTube versus Twitch thing. And both of them pull me different directions, and they're both tempting for different reasons. I actually started off at the very beginning. I was using Restream, which lets you stream to multiple platforms at once.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was doing to YouTube and to Twitch at the same time. And after a few months, I just noticed that a larger community was building over on YouTube. I would have maybe like 2 viewers over on Twitch, but like 20 viewers over on YouTube. So I was just like, let's simplify things and just stream to one platform. I'm going to stick to YouTube. And so that's how I ended up on YouTube.
Yeah, it seems like YouTube is starting to slowly catch up. I mean, I saw, because you see, it's like these battles are happening on the internet between all the people who use the different things. So sometimes you'll see it's like you'll see a post being like, YouTube is taking over streaming, and I don't think that's true, but it's, you know, it's like you can just kind of see how the momentum is kind of shifting a little bit. Maybe they seem to be doing some things right, but
yeah, definitely making progress. I mean, there's a ton of features that we have on YouTube streaming now that weren't there even a year ago. So they've added tons of cool stuff for sure.
And I wonder
still got a long ways to go, but we're getting there.
I wonder, I mean, there must be more people in general on YouTube, right, as like a base of viewers to pull from, right? Yeah, then Twitch is just more specialized. Okay, well, we're going to keep going here, but everyone, again, please throw your questions in the Q&A if you have any questions for PixelFire, and we're going to get to them in probably 10 minutes or so. Okay, so let's say I'm starting out from scratch. I just heard about VTubing today, and I want to get into it, or I'm just curious about it. What are good resources that you've found that might be good for doing something like that? I mean, I think that at the upper, I think, and we've kind of alluded to, there's like levels of VTubing, right? This is kind of, you have a very sophisticated setup, but not everyone needs to start there, or maybe you can dip your toes in at a certain point. I don't know. Where would you, if you had a relative at a holiday party and they're like, what are you? Where would you kind of direct them to kind of start dipping their toes in? Like, would that be YouTube? Do you have a favorite YouTuber that you've kind of has inspired you? I don't know. Like, I'm always interested in how to get people kind of started on the journey.
It's tough because, like you said, there's a wide range of styles of VTubers. So to get your feet wet, I would just kind of say, I don't research different VTubers on YouTube. Just type in VTuber and it'll come up with tons of results, and just watch 2D VTubers, watch 3D VTubers, watch anime style, watch my style, whatever that is. And just kind of get an idea for what style and what route you want to go. And then after that, then it would be a lot easier to give someone a first step once they've decided on a specific route. But yeah, starting off without having any knowledge at all, I would say just watch some VTubers on YouTube. Just
type in VTuber into YouTube and just start watching them.
Or here's a great idea, actually, plug for you guys is, and you guys on the webinar probably already know this already, but Rokoko has a Discord server, which, by the way, to you guys, Rokoko, you guys have been doing an amazing job with the Discord community lately. And so I just want to plug that. And that's a great place to get information, to get help, to get ideas, because tons of different people in VTubing and virtual production, all sorts of spaces, are putting content onto the Discord channel and talking and having discussions. So that's a great hub to get into VTubing for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, it is great. Yeah, shout out to the Rokoko Discord. It's David and Vanya and everyone over there has been awesome. So it's definitely a good resource for just anything. I mean, it's always nice to just be able to have a place to show off something that you're working on in whatever program, and it's always just kind of a fun thing to do. Okay, well, there's some good questions coming in, so I thought maybe we'll switch on over to taking some of those. And yeah, so there's a couple of people asking for the raffle. You do have to go to the VTubing channel on the Discord and just introduce yourself quickly, and then you'll be entered into the drawing. Okay, so one question from, I can't see it anymore, but is that your real voice? I guess it's an interesting, I don't know, this would be like a question for the creator, but there's an interesting level of how do you draw the line between PixelFire and the creator, I guess. I don't know what
no, that's fine. That's totally fine. So my voice was programmed into me from audio files taken from my creator. So much like you would hear from Siri or Bixby or Google Voice, it's a human where it has tons and tons and tons of audio files and then put into a single bit of code. Same principle with me. So my creator had tons of voice recordings, and those were all merged into my AI voice.
And also body recordings, right? Like movements.
Yes. Yep.
There, I saw an awesome video that you put out.
Shout out to Rokoko Motion Capture for that.
Yeah. I think that also just touches on an interesting, and this is, I don't know, this is philosophical, I guess, but I think one of the most interesting things about VTubing is the anonymity aspect of it, which I think is a good thing. I don't know. What are your thoughts when it comes to that? I mean, it's a very broad question, but like, I think in general, we're going to be seeing a lot more of this sort of interaction, and we already have, like VR chat and everything. I think those spaces are all amazing. But I think in general, we have an issue, online or whatever, with like anonymity, and there's like a push and pull between, is it a good thing and is it a bad thing? And I don't know. Do you think that like in 5 years, will VTubing be the norm? Do you think we're heading in that direction, or will it stay niche? I mean, I guess we'll see.
Whether it'll be the norm for everyone, like I don't know, like business meetings doing Zoom call, whether it'll be the norm for everyone, I'm not sure, but it will be much more of a norm than it is for now. Right now, we are in a phase, honestly, where VTubing as a whole is still kind of awkward. I don't think it's not a fad. It's not a passing fad by any means. VTubing is definitely going to continue growing, and it's going to become a more normalized industry for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
We're just in an awkward phase right now, but we're going to get through that. We'll get through the awkward phase. Kinks will get worked out. More technology will come out that will make all of this more streamlined, and when that happens, we'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's like, as soon as it's also a matter of, I think, consumer technology. Like, this is still fairly specialized, all of this stuff, depending on what you're doing. And as soon as it gets easier to do, we'll probably see more people doing it.
For sure. Yeah.
So next question, we had a question about, again, this is kind of for the creator, although maybe Pixel, I don't know if you mess with a little 3D modeling as well. That would actually be, that would be cool to see. You do. But yeah, do you have a favorite modeling program? Because also,
yes,
yeah. Well, so again, you put out this video like a couple, I don't know, 6 months ago, maybe it's a couple less than that, but about your new studio, which is behind you, which is gorgeous. Yeah, and I remember I watched it and I thought it literally, I was so confused because I thought you had built a real studio, because it looked so good. I don't know, something about the lighting and just it just looks real, and especially on a YouTube video. I don't know. So yeah, maybe you could speak about modeling, because that's a big part of digital worlds. And do you do everything in Unity? Do you use other programs?
No, I do not do everything in Unity. So all of the 3D stuff in this studio was made in Blender. Blender is the software that I highly, highly recommend for everyone to use, because it is free and it's very, very powerful. So all the 3D models in here were made in Blender, and it's all running in Unity. So yeah, check out Blender, everyone. It's free. It always will be, which is the cool thing.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Do you do the texturing in Blender too?
Yes, everything.
Everything.
All the modeling, texturing, rigging, everything is in Blender.
Oh my God, it looks so good. I love how you can just fly around. So this is another question from Miley. Again, for the creator. But the question is, how much effort did it take to create your avatar? You have a very, again, and maybe you could speak to the form that you're taking, Pixel, in terms of just not, you've got to tell us about the audio, that you got from out there, which is awesome looking.
Yeah. So part of everything that makes me PixelFire is the idea that I'm a piece of code. And so starting out, if you look back at my original stuff, I actually, like, people ask me all the time, why don't I have a face? Why don't I have eyes or nose or ears or anything? And I have a mouth, but it's an audio spectrum. That's basically all it is. So the idea with PixelFire is that I'm a piece of code that grows over time. So just as any piece of code would get developed over time and redeveloped, that's how I am. So I started off as PixelFire 1.0, and I didn't even have a mouth then. I didn't even have clothes. So we are a family-friendly channel, but it wasn't quite family-friendly at the very beginning because I didn't even have clothes on. So I was just like, hey, let's just start this channel. Let's just start with where we're at, PixelFire 1.0, and we'll develop as we go along. And it's kind of become a fun community thing where I'll release a new video like PixelFire 1.1, I now have a mouth, or PixelFire 1.3, I now have clothes, or I can now dance, or all this type of stuff. So it's been really fun. And so that's why
you're evolving, like we all are.
Exactly. Yeah. And just like code too. Yeah. And so with the whole face topic, there is a face in the works. I will say that. So wow. I will not be faceless forever.
Well, I'm going to be sad to see. Maybe, you can hop on you can get the old code out of the closet, hanging on all the different, your different code for your body code.
Just have like T-poses of all the different versions.
Yeah,
of
that'd be awesome.
Like,
that'd be great. And then you can pick it out. You can do a little
like
Clueless
over here on the cabinets, maybe.
Yeah.
Little miniature versions right here.
Okay, so yes, there's another question, but I think we answered this. So the level was designed in Unity, but modeled in Blender. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, here's a good one that another question from Dennis that I'm curious about too. But what would your advice be for the top 5 pieces of gear software that someone should look into when thinking about getting into VTubing? Again, this is a creator question, perhaps.
Well, this is a hard question just because we talked about the different levels. But
Yeah.
if we're talking in the sense of VTubing at this level that I'm doing it in, are we talking computer parts or non-computer parts?
Well, there was another question about computer parts and kind of what the minimum specs would be, which I would say, all this I guess really depends on what level you're entering at. Yeah. You can enter at, as you said, just like on your phone. I'm sure there's an app that you could do it, and you just stream on your phone. Webcam works for a lot of the big VTubers that you'll see, like Galgura and stuff. They use a combination of everything, but a lot of the time it seems like they use a webcam, and just that's it. That's all you need. And then, right, I mean, I guess I'm talking a lot, but I guess when you get up to this level, yeah,
I would say start off with what you have to get your feet wet, and that's okay. What you have will work for something. So use what you have to get your feet wet, and then if your interest stays stable, then maybe start putting more money and time and resources into building a bigger VTubing package.
Yeah. Total. I think that's really good advice, because it's also like so much about VTubing at the end of the day is really not about it's about you, what you're doing, and your vibe and everything. It's like that stuff isn't really determined by how nice it looks. And so you can start with what you have. I like that idea, because the impulse is to be like, I want to spend money like on fancy things, and like, ooh, and that's it's all very tempting, but you really don't need to.
And you can spend a lot of money too in this industry.
Yeah, right.
In gaming, content creation, VTubing, you can spend a lot of money. So.
Yeah. So there's another question. Running Unity while streaming must require a seriously beefy computer, right? I actually don't know if that's true. It does. I mean, kind of. I'm always surprised that it all runs as well as it does.
And once again, it depends on what you're running. I am running. So if you guys know anything about the different rendering platforms within Unity, there's the URP, which is like the lower end, and there's the higher end, which is HDRP. And so I'm running Unity at like the highest rendering version available. I'm not using all the highest specs. So like I have some shadow settings turned down and some anti-aliasing settings turned down, but overall I'm at the point with my setup where I'm pushing the limits to where I'm almost high enough to where I'm maxing stuff out.
Yeah, you're towing that line. Yeah, of like your computer looking a little hot over there. Yeah. And I'm running, this is Unreal, what I'm running, and it's all, I'm always amazed that it runs as well as it does. Okay, so let's keep going through some of these other questions. What social media platforms do you think are the best for stream clips? From Kyle. Just kind of touching on clips. I assume that means just like putting stuff out there.
Yeah.
Instagram.
I'm personally a little biased towards YouTube Shorts. I think I honestly do not know a lot about Twitch. So I think Twitch has a clip system.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure, but I would say if you're going to share gaming clips, I would do that on either TikTok or YouTube Shorts. And I've tried releasing the exact same short on both TikTok and YouTube Shorts, and I've had much, much, much better success on YouTube Shorts. Now, the same might not apply to you. It might not apply to everyone, but that's what's worked for me. And YouTube is they push people's YouTube Shorts like a lot. So I would just test it out, post the same clip to multiple platforms and see what works for you.
That's good advice. I feel like also maybe, I mean, YouTube Shorts is relatively new, right?
Yeah.
I think, right? Yeah. So, I mean, and it's also like when there are newer platforms, it's good to try them out because oftentimes they are excited for people to put content out on them. And then, I don't know, it's like it's kind of a newer, it's good to jump on those new things as well. I feel like TikTok too, when it was getting big. I mean, I think the people who jumped on that made it was really good. Do you have so there's a question from Anonymous. Do you have a 4-camera setup? And I don't know if that refers to you, PixelFire, or if it refers to your creator in terms of how the digital files for your movement was captured. But that was using a smart suit when you did, and there's a video on PixelFire's channel. Go check it out. It's really cool about how smart suit was integrated into the PixelFire avatar. But you don't use, it's not like you have a Vicon setup and
No.
yeah.
So there's no optical cameras going on right now. There's no webcams being used. This is all just virtual magic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the question that was for us from Vin Ra, which was, how does Rokoko plan to compete with XSense in the VTubing space? And I think it's kind of, in general, the way that we compete with XSense is that, is through price point. And then also what our goal is always to make things as easy as possible. I think that, because there's a, oh golly, how am I forgetting her name? But the big XSense VTuber.
Code Miko.
Yeah, Code Miko. She's XSense, and there's a couple other XSense users, and it works great. But I think it's a little bit more technical. Like XSense is like the Linux to our Windows. I don't know if that's putting us in a good place for that comparison.
And it's higher end too. And higher end is good, but it's also bad price wise. So yeah. Rokoko, honestly, if you guys are, if anyone is wanting to get into we talked about this earlier about getting your feet wet with VTubing, right? There's a limit that I would advise not going past in getting your feet wet. I wouldn't go above Rokoko, if that makes sense, because Rokoko maxes out at around, I think it's $2,500 for a suit.
A suit, yeah.
But the XSense stuff, that gets into the tens of thousands of dollars, and you can get into Vicon stuff for like up to 50,000 plus, and it's crazy expensive. And even with the XSense, like after you buy the suit, you're paying like thousands and thousands of dollars to use the software every month and every year. But Rokoko is like the cheapest you can get, which is awesome.
I think and that's the advantage. And again, it's like not just, I'm like, we're with Rokoko, so that's what I'm going to say. XSense is great, man. It's great. And it's like, it's wonderful. And it works really well. It's just way more expensive. And also just, I think when you get to this level, Rokoko XSense, there's going to be a lot of just things that go wrong and like stuff happens. And so it's not like if you were to go up to XSense, it's not like all your problems are solved. It's like there's problems everywhere kind of that need to be worked through. And so I don't know. Yeah. So it just depends on what you're kind of looking for, but that's how we compete. Long story short, I think it's through price point and through ease of use, ideally.
Okay. I don't think you guys don't have any competitors, do you, at your level of price point?
We are kind of sit between XSense. I can't get my hand above my head. It's too short. XSense.
Yeah, there's that other one that's like 1,000, right?
Yeah, Perception Neuron, which I hear various things about. But so we're kind of in the middle. I think we're kind of in a sweet spot there. This is a good question from Amazon Ite. And we kind of talked about this, but what's the hardest thing you had to overcome to get to where you are today? That could be technically, that could be motivationally.
The hardest thing that I've had to overcome.
For me, it's been figuring this stuff out at all. I'll talk while you think. I can talk.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I think there's not a lot of information out there about VTubing, which I think is tough. So I imagine you taught yourself everything, essentially, because there's no course to take really on VTubing right now.
Or it's all spread out. You'll learn one thing here and one thing over there. Yeah.
That's a difficult thing, I think, for many people to overcome, is you're like, okay, I'm into it, I want to get started. And then you're like, okay, well, I don't really, there's no good resource really in one place. Yeah, so that, I think that's a common one, I would imagine. I don't know. Does anything else spring to mind for you?
I think one of the hardest things, I don't want to get into this too much because it's a little bit of an awkward conversation, but VTube, like we talked about before, VTubing takes a lot of work. And so to do VTubing, at least at this level, you have to put a lot of time into it, and time is money. So especially as a small creator, which I am a super, super small creator. So please go subscribe to me on YouTube.
Yes, do.
I'm a super small creator. So pouring so much time into VTubing without getting paid for it, that's honestly probably my biggest obstacle and the biggest hardship that I've gone through in all of this. So yeah.
And I think that's
something still trying to figure out how to overcome.
Yeah. And that's, it's funny because I think, at least when I think about VTubing, you kind of think about it as it's being its own thing, but as we've kind of said, it's also just, you're a live streamer. The only difference is that there's more technical things that to worry about. But other than that, the realities of just taking time, and it's like, it's that whole side of it, I think is as much a part of VTubing as the impressive idea and the kind of technical execution. It's just tough. And I mean, also, I think I've sat in on a couple of your streams, and it seems like you have a great community, but it can be toxic out there too. I think that stuff is kind of, you don't think about maybe when you're getting into it at first. It's like,
yeah, for sure. And you actually touched on something great there. I do have a really great community behind me.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I've loved the most about not just VTubing, but being a content creator, is building up that community. And the community around me is so awesome and so generous. And so if you guys are interested in being part of a community like that, I also have a Discord, and we'll link to that later.
Yeah. And I think that's true. I don't know how this has happened, because you'd think, I don't know, anything with streaming, I think it can be tough, but in the small VTubing world, there's a lot of, I think it's, people are excited to prop each other up and be there kind of for each other. And a lot of the VTubing tutorials and things that you do find are just from creators who want to help people like get started. And so there's actually a pretty great community the only experience I have is in the Western 3D VTubing world. But I think in general, it's surprisingly nice and supportive, it seems like.
Yeah, for sure. And to be honest, the majority of my community is not even VTubers. There's only a few, honestly. Most of them are just gamers. And it's been really cool to, as a VTuber, have a lot of really good support from people around me that are just gamers, and not even necessarily VTubers or into VTubing, but they just like the PixelFire vibe. They like the brand, and they like the channel and the content. And it's really encouraging. It's one of the things that keeps you going as a VTuber and as a content creator, is having a great community behind you. So that's another piece of advice I would give to people looking to get into not just VTubing, but content creation, is to make sure, if you can, that you're also you're focusing on building up a community around you, because that's going to be one of the things that will help push you through and get you through those tough moments as a content creator.
Totally. Yeah. And there's some really wonderful relationships that happen in those spaces, I think too. Yeah. That's good advice as well. Okay. Here's a good one. The metaverse and NFTs, this is from Cable Jack, have become big convoluted buzzwords. But these technologies can have some overlap with VTubing.
For sure. Yeah.
Because it's becoming more of a thing. How do you feel the question is, how do you feel getting confronted about these concepts as a VTuber? Which is an interesting question. I think that's also just like, I think it kind of just speaks to the, I don't know, the commercialization of VTubing. Is that something that, I don't even think that's something on the radar to worry about. If VTubing rises to that level, that would be great. I don't know. Do you worry about that? Do you worry about like getting co-opted kind of eventually, like the industry rather, and like yeah, I don't know.
What you mean like taken over?
I mean, I think that like with there's, I mean, it seems like there's been a big backlash against NFTs now, which I think is valid for whatever reasons, and there's lots of reasons for that and stuff. But I could imagine a world in which VTubing is kind of similarly blows up. If there's like a really massive, you know, and again, I can just speak for America, but if there was like a really massive American VTuber, like, would that be a bad thing? I don't think it would. I wouldn't be worried about that.
No, not at all.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. So yeah, there's a ton of back and forth between whether NFTs are good or bad, whether the metaverse is going to be a thing or not. But VTubing, I don't think is going to be in that same boat. And the reason is because VTubing essentially, like, it's a virtual avatar. And we've had virtual avatars for as long as a profile picture has been around. And that's been years.
Oh, that's interesting.
A decade now. And so many, almost all social media platforms now, they're starting to create ways that you can create your own avatar as your profile pic. They have it on Reddit, they have it on Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, everything. And so it's, I mean, they're not like moving, and it's not you're not being a VTuber on a platform, on a video platform like YouTube, but you are creating a avatar profile picture of yourself.
Totally.
And everyone's doing that. It's not just the VTubing community, it's everyone. So it's becoming a norm, and I think we'll see it continue to grow. And I haven't seen any backlash on that, or any back and forth on whether avatar like profile pictures that aren't an actual picture of yourself is good or bad. Like, people don't do that. So I think it's in an entirely different boat than NFTs and metaverse stuff.
That's really interesting, actually, because it's kind of like everyone has been primed for this idea. It's not really a foreign idea. Yeah, that, like, I like that. That's a really cool way of looking at it. I mean, I also think it's interesting. I like the idea of, I don't really like the meta. I don't know if I like meta or whatever. The general idea of the metaverse, if I am super into Halo and I have a digital character and I want my digital character to be wearing a Master Chief helmet and everything, I think that's cool. I like that idea of, I think that's where it gets kind of interesting. So there's another, okay, so let's get a couple more questions here. And we're going to be announcing our raffle winners right in a few seconds. So you guys, we'll do that in a moment, but let's get through a couple more of these questions.
I have one quick question. Can I ask a question real quick?
Yes, you can.
I just want to ask, once this webinar is over, is there a way that we could have all of these? Because I'd love to answer all of these questions even after the webinar for the ones that we don't get to. So is there any way that we can have access to that, to where I could answer questions after?
That's a great idea. We can put something up. Maybe we'll put something in the description of the video to have, or maybe we can even do like a blog post or something. But yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of good ones that I don't think we're gonna have enough time to get to. So have you ever tried to use gesture recognition to map specific body movements to specific audio visual effects? If so, what challenges have you run into? That's interesting question.
I would love to talk about that. So I'm pretty sure what I'm about to talk about is what this person is asking. So let me actually switch over to,
is it like, so when interacting with your,
so when I started off as PixelFire, before we had the Rokoko motion capture setup stuff integrated, everything that I did without motion capture was, let me just show you. So I'm going to go back to the pre-days.
Oh, wow.
when we did not have the motion capture set up. So here we go. So this right here is with so stiff. This is without motion capture, okay? So, but I'm still moving around. So this does not have motion capture integration at all.
Oh wow. That's your mouse, maybe.
Correct. This is all, my head and my arm are all moving from mouse movement. So let me actually switch over to this camera so you guys can get a better view. Here we go. Okay. So, and then I'm going to
So cool.
I'm going to hide me real quick. Okay, there we go. So you see the mouse moving right there,
Huh.
right? So that mouse is moving exactly in the way that the real world mouse is moving. So move up, it moves up, move down, it moves down. And then once it even gets to the boundary, I have it coded so that it will move back to the center, just like anyone would in real life.
Right, you pick it up. Yeah.
So then my hand, my whole right arm is mapped to an IK rig, and that IK control point is parented to the mouse. So it moves my whole right arm in the way that it would in real life, which is really cool. And then likewise, let me switch back to that. Guess you can't see my mouse really well.
Oh my God.
But let's see. But likewise, whenever I move the mouse around, my head is tracked to a control point that is following the mouse cursor. So wherever the mouse cursor is on screen, my head would track towards the direction of that. So even before the motion capture days, we still had some amount of movement just from the mouse. And then we would have pre-made animations that would trigger once I would do certain things. So I could trigger a keyboard shortcut like the dance, and that would trigger a dance animation.
Yes. Oh my God, I'm so jealous.
Ignore that chair.
Oh man, we should have done this earlier.
So that's that. So then let me switch back to mocap integration. There we go.
That
so
I think, yeah, that's pretty good. That's amazing.
Yeah.
God, it's so great. It's such a great setup. But I think
that's
please.
A bit of advice to everyone else is that if you are able to do some amount of game design and game development in Unity or Unreal, you don't necessarily need motion capture setup to stream as a VTuber. You can code all your own stuff like what I just showed you. Yeah, totally possible.
And I think, and as well for that, I think a lot of the, when people are asked this kind of question, what they want to be doing is things like touching something and making something happen, or doing something like that, like drumming or playing. But I think what's interesting is a lot of times those are done the way it's like they're reverse engineered, right? Because it's really difficult unless you have a Vicon system. You know, inertial motion tracking is like never going to be perfect. So it's difficult to like affect things reliably in a digital space, I think, if you know, but
unless you have an optical setup,
unless you have an optical setup and it's pixel for pixel perfect in a volume that is like, but that's, you know, it's $100,000 or whatever. But there are interesting things working backwards, basically. I just think that's an interesting way of thinking about it. Yeah.
And it's really fun, just the game design side, trying to figure out how to make stuff work in the virtual world that just naturally works in the real world. It's a really fun project to have going on. But if you are interested in checking out, just a quick plug real quick, there is a VTuber. His name is Citizen Meta 1.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to change his name because he doesn't like that Meta is in it anymore because of the Meta stuff. But
yeah, totally.
But he does all the really higher end motion capture stuff where it's all optical and it's all pretty close to perfect, like 99.99% perfect. He does a lot of really cool stuff where he interacts with things in his environment and it happens almost pixel perfectly in the virtual studio. So check that out. Citizen Meta 1 does some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, he's got some super interesting. I mean, he's all over the place. He's got amazing things going on over there. Cool. I think I'm going to announce the drawing winners, but then maybe we can cruise through a couple more questions after that because there's a bunch left, and then maybe we'll call it at around, I don't know, 12:10ish, 12:15. But yeah, so thank you everyone for attending. Again, we're gonna stay on for a second, but I'm just gonna announce who's taking home the sweet giveaways. And thank you everyone for heading to the Discord and introducing yourself. And yeah, stay tuned on. We're gonna be doing more things like this, and you know, hopefully doing more giveaways. And so tune in to our next webinar, our next event, and we're gonna be trying to do this stuff a lot. So for the first place raffle winner, who's getting a Stream Deck XL and 1 year of Rokoko face capture, it's Dot Bosk Crypto Waifu. Hello, and they wrote, "Hello, Rokoko." So this is Bog is a newborn digital influencer. Woo! We got the fireworks, or we got the confetti.
Yeah, confetti. Let's go.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So this is a digital influencer in Italy. We started streaming on the 1st of January. So he was actually born on the 15th of December. So it's a young, new talent in VTubing, and they're in Unreal for a couple months now. And yeah, trying to grow in the VTubing scene. So yes, Bogdan, congratulations, and hopefully that Elgato Stream Deck XL will come in handy. For second place, who is getting a Stream Deck Mark II and 1 year of Rokoko face capture, Mega Miley. Introducing
Mega Miley, let's go.
Yeah, get that. Oh my God, the confetti. But yeah, hi, I'm Miley. I'm a software engineer at Unity. Dope. Currently in Helsinki, but I will still
awesome.
moving to Edinburgh, and always been interested in this stuff, and hope my Rokoko suit will help me achieve that once they can get it all up and running. So yes, Mega Miley, congratulations to you.
Yeah.
And the last person who's getting a year of Rokoko face capture is, I think it's J Devil. I'm not sure. But yes, the intro is Devil. Hello, I'm Devil. I'm 16. I'd like to start streaming, and they're working on getting everything set up, and mainly live performances in Apex Legends.
Nice.
So thank you, and great to meet you. So great to meet you too, Devil, and welcome to the Rokoko Discord, and congratulations on your prize. And yeah, so that's the 3 winners. So it's Crypto, Waifu, Mega Miley, and Devil. And I apologize if I mispronounced any of your usernames, but yeah, congratulations. And yeah, the Stream Decks are awesome, and the year of Rokoko face capture hopefully will all make your journey a little bit easier to get started. So congrats.
Congrats.
Man, it's cool. That Stream Deck is pretty neat once they get it. Yeah,
awesome.
they're a lot of fun and useful for a lot of different things. So get ready to control those lights.
Yep.
Oh, nice. Is that your actual layout of your Stream Deck?
Not really, no.
Yeah. It looks really good. Did you put more effort in? Did the creator put more effort? Actually, this is Pixel. This is your Stream Deck. So the creator needs to up their game on their Stream Deck, I think is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, okay, let's do a couple more, and I'm just going to cap it at another 10 minutes, and then we'll probably call it. And okay, question. Do you have okay, this is an interesting one from Farin. Question for PixelFire. Do you have plans on for networking, like having other VTubers load into your environment? PixelFire.
Yes.
There's a unified
question.
Yeah, shader called VRM is widely used for VTubers, and I can see how I don't know, but that's an interesting question. I never thought about that. I know about collabs, and you share, you do something like this, but you can load other entities into your environment.
I don't think that's possible quite yet. It might.
So what were you getting all excited about?
I'm looking forward to that because right now, whenever you do interviews with someone, it's just on a screen. So I would let's see, turn this over and then see you on a screen. It's all just 2D images.
Right.
But what the next level stuff is when, like, that couch back there, if I could have another VTuber from Unreal or from Unity kind of like stream in and sit on that couch, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get there. It's going to require a lot of talking back and forth between like Unreal devs and Unity devs, but I think we'll get there. And once we do get there, it'll be really, really cool.
Well, I think it's just we're still early. I mean, I know we're not early globally, but at least in the West. And I think for these companies, Unreal and Unity, they're just the tools aren't developed yet, but like
for sure.
I imagine all that stuff would totally make sense to have it be like an official, just a VTubing suite of tools to get other VTubers into your scene or whatever it is. Like that stuff just is all being homemade, created by like you. And so as soon as I think,
there's ways that you could cheat it, especially if you're just creating a video offline and then uploading it. There's tons of ways you could cheat it, but doing it live, like on a live stream and it really happening, we're definitely not there yet, but I think we will be there someday.
Yeah. I have to imagine that we're going to be, it's all magic. It's all getting crazier by the day and week.
And once we're at that level, if we do get there, that's when the whole metaverse thing, that's when that will really be happening.
Yeah.
Because for the metaverse, in my opinion, for the metaverse to work and to be realistic and for it to not be awkward, you have to be able to have that interoperability between different game engines and different platforms to where YouTubers and objects, 3D game objects, can coexist in multiple locations at the same time. And we're just not there yet. We're getting there, but not there yet.
Yeah. And the impediment to that is just that there's a monetary incentive for companies not to do that, which makes it tough, I think. But hopefully, I think eventually it'll happen. This is a really great question from Julia. Very close to everyone's heart, I think, who has done this, but basically any tips on how to build an audience? The thing I'm scared of is to start a stream just to find out no people are watching, which is like, it's really tough. I do my little streams now for Rokoko. We do them every week, and if people tune in, it's great, but it's really hard. Yeah, it's a hard, I don't know. I'm interested to hear what your perspective would be on that. No,
it's definitely, it's extremely hard.
Yeah.
Just emotionally and mentally. And it's that way for every streamer, not just VTubers, even non-VTubers. Yeah. When you start off streaming and you start off creating content and you literally have no audience, and then you stream and there's 0 viewers and you're streaming for like 6 hours to no viewers, it can be very disheartening. Or even when you upload a video to YouTube and you have 0 views, or you get 1 view or 2 views, and you're constantly monitoring your analytics and you're like, oh, I got to 10 views. And you're just always wondering, you're like, why am I not getting views, or why am I not getting hearts or likes? It can be very discouraging. So I would just say, stick to it and do what you love. Make sure you're loving what you're doing. And if you do, that'll help. And just don't get discouraged by the lack of viewers, because everyone goes through it. To get past that hump, you just have to be consistent. And that's something that I struggle with, is consistency, because we talked about earlier where as a VTuber, you're split between creating content, but also making sure your VTuber avatar is always up to date and maintained and updated and all that stuff. So it's really hard, but just stick with it and eventually get to a point where you can be consistent. If you just add consistency, then you'll eventually develop a community, because they'll start to get used to seeing your stuff at certain times. So if you're like, I'm going to post on every Wednesday and every Friday, then slowly, as you build a community over time, they'll get used to, hey, I'm expecting a post from this streamer on Wednesday or on Friday. Yeah. And they'll get used to it. And that's how you build the community.
Yeah. And I also think like engagement, again, speaking, I'm not a full-time VTuber or anything, but I think engagement in any of these communities is always good. And that means like going to other people's, if maybe you go in and you just, you get to know people in other streams and things, and then you can let them know that what you're doing. And also, I don't know. Yeah. So that's a really tough one though. And I think the advice to just, make sure that you're doing it and you like doing it for yourself too, I think is good. But and also knowing that, it's something that everyone goes through, and it's really, you're being very vulnerable and you're putting yourself out there. And fortunately, I think for VTubing, and again, you do not need a Rokoko mocap suit to start VTubing, but it's really hard to put your face out there. That's even harder. And so there are options to start your VTubing journey, and maybe that can make it easier as well.
And I would say too, also make sure you are engaging with your community, with the viewers, even if you have just 1 or 2, if they're popping onto the stream or commenting on your post, make sure you acknowledge them and say, hey, thank you so much for being here. Let them know how much you appreciate them being there. And that will go a really long way. I think that's a big reason why there's been such a really good community that has been developing around the PixelFire brand, is that I've just been really intentional about talking and conversing with viewers and making them feel welcome and invited. So
Yeah.
I think that's a really big thing that helps.
Embrace that aspect of it. It's also fun because then you get sent down rabbit holes you never would have thought of. And yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, well, yeah, there's more questions about what the best place to learn about tracking and VTubing. And yeah, for that, we kind of talked about it earlier, but just go and watch VTubers and I guess watch some tutorials. We have a series that we released that you can go watch that is a good way to get your feet wet. There's no real unified source of VTubing information, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was about to say there is a fantastic YouTube channel out there, guys. It's called the Rokoko YouTube channel.
Boom.
And they have been, especially lately, been putting out a lot of really good content. And shout out to Sam doing that. You've been doing a great job with those.
There's not enough dancing cute bear though. I think this would up our stats a lot if we just did more of this. This is so entertaining.
Just zoom in.
Yeah. Okay. Last one. What's been the most? This is a great one to end it on from Sharon. What's been the most fun thing for you to do for PixelFire? What has been the most fun thing for you to do? Is it streaming? Is it getting your studio looking all nice? Is it or not streaming? I mean, is it gaming? Has it been one game in particular, one collab? I saw some Mario Kart being played, which you lost horribly in the race that I saw.
Yeah, I won a few races. I bet I did lose a few for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but what's the best part? I guess I don't know.
It's all fun, just gaming in general. Not just like playing a game, but also just the industry of gaming news. New games coming out, new consoles coming out. It's all just it's a really fun and exciting industry. But I don't know. I love creating all this stuff. I love working on my avatar. I love working on the studio. It's all a lot of fun, but I really love interacting with the Discord server that we have and just engaging with the community. It truly is a lot of fun. Even when I stream, I spend so much time streaming, talking to the chat, which I don't know if that helps or hurts me, but I talk to chat a lot. So I'm pausing the game a lot just to talk to chat. And it's just a lot of fun interacting with people. So I really enjoy that aspect of it.
That's great. And yeah, and so we'll have a link to your Discord as well in the description. But yeah, I mean, that's an example of a company that's doing it right. Discord has been crushing it. Everything they do is like makes things easier and better. And, that's hopefully that will happen to VTubing at large at some point. That would be great. Cool. Okay. Well, so we do have more questions on the Discord and we'll figure out some way for you to answer the remaining questions that we have. But yeah, I think we're going to call it right here. Thank you so much, Pixel, for joining us and answering some of these questions and indulging,
of course,
my random questions of you. Yeah,
of course. Thank you. I had a lot of fun, and thank you everyone who joined. I had a blast answering these questions and just talking to Sam and you guys. It's been a lot of fun. Hope to do it again sometime. Sam.
Totally. Yeah, there's more to come with Pixel. Again, if you haven't yet, check out PixelFire's channel. We'll have all the links in the video that we'll post later of this conversation and everything. But lots more exciting things coming from PixelFire too. And so stay tuned to all that, especially if you're getting into VTubing. And he's a nice guy. He's a nice digital piece of group of pixels. And but also it's like that community thing. If people have questions, I'm sure your Discord is a great place to go to ask questions and engage. And resources are out there. You just got to kind of go find them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, okay. We're going to call it there. And so we will see everyone on the next webinar. Stay tuned for that. And thank you again, Pixel. Okay.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you.
See ya. Goodbye, dance.
Goodbye, dance. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, do it. Okay. Here we go. Can't help myself.
Hey, Sam,
about the belly?
I need to get you in the studio.
I know, I
do. Teddy Bear and PixelFire dance together.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.